Hey guys, so I finally bought a Rock Candy Xbox One controller. I wanted to do this for a while, and the only thing that was like kind of stopping me from doing it was the price tag. But I went to Walmart for something, and I saw they were drastically reduced to like $30, and I just jumped on it. It was an amazing deal. Let's take a look at it real fast. It's just like an Xbox 360 Rock Candy controller. It has the same functionality. My favorite selling point on this is that it uses potentiometers for the analogs for the triggers. So that's like my major selling point because a lot of people are having issues with Hall effect sensors, and I myself have had issues with the Hall effect sensors. So if you're having issues with that, I highly suggest going out and get one of these because they use potentiometers instead of Hall effect sensors, and that's like a huge selling point because you know they're going to last for a while. But yeah, let's take a look at it. We have a 3.5 input for a mic, which I'm not too keen on because it streams the game audio as well into the earbuds, so it's kind of like Turtle Beaches. I don't really like that. I feel like they should have added like an on-off switch for that, but it still works quite well. We have these really annoying plastic analog sticks, which I plan on changing soon. The only problem with that is that the analogs themselves have a different axle, so not every analog will fit into this. But I have a plan for that. I'm probably just gonna put some like epoxy in my Xbox One analog sticks and probably drill a small hole, and that should work. But that's not right now. I'm doing that later. We have 3 circuit boards in here, which is really cool. It's gonna help for this mod a lot. We have the main circuit board right here, which houses I think it's an ARM processor, which is really cool. I didn't think they would be using an ARM for this, but they are. We have a circuit board right here. As you can see, there's like 6 solder joints connecting this board to the main circuit board. It is for the D-pad, which is really cool. And then over here, we have a separate circuit board for all these buttons. Now, the reason why that's really cool for this mod is because when I take this thing apart, none of these buttons will get in the way of running wire. So all I have to do is work within the crevices here to avoid pinching wires or even buttons not working. So that's really cool. It's going to help out a lot with this. Now, you guys know me and Rock Candy controllers. I like putting LEDs inside of them. These kind of cases just beg for LEDs, and it's kind of weird they don't have LEDs yet in them because, I don't know why. They should. It's just like a really nice case. They should have an afterglow. My Xbox 360 Rock Candy controller, I added, I think it was 3mm LEDs to it. I don't even know where that is right now. It's just gone. I haven't played my Xbox 360 in a while, let alone my Xbox One, really. Only game I've been playing for Xbox One, probably Fallout 4, and every now and again Call of Duty because I play with some friends, and it's the only way that game is fun. That game is just, I don't like it, but it's the only way it's fun is if you play it with friends. That's a different story. But the LEDs I'm going to be using for this guy are surface mount LEDs. It's about time, right? I get into the surface mount game. It's these guys right here. It's in a different packaging. Ignore the 100 ohm. But it's these guys right here. I have green and blue. So I want to use green and blue. I also have red, but the red won't work. It just draws way too much current and turns off the green and blue. Unless there's like some way to multiplex them, which I really don't want to get into. I just want to make this as simple as possible. So I have these really tiny surface mount LEDs. Let me see if I can just grab one for you and show you the size. Right there, little tiny guy right there. So I want to put, I'd say 6 in here. 6 inside this controller total, green and blue. I'm going to put a green and blue right here, probably a green and blue up here, and then a green and blue right over here. Now, the thing that sucks is I really wish these LEDs were RGB. I might even look for RGB LEDs and change this up a bit, because if they were RGB, I could just change the ground on it, and that would be a lot easier to control than wiring up all these. So if these change to RGB, just note that was expected because I might have some RGB surface mounts lying around. I'm just not entirely sure yet. It would be a lot easier to run instead of running like a multiplex of like wires and stuff, or not a multiplex, but multiple wires. It'd be a lot easier to run. I'm sure I have them. I just gotta find them. It's the only hard part because I just built this new workbench you guys are seeing I'm on, and kind of made my workroom a mess. So I'm kind of misplacing a lot of stuff. But anyways, I want to add 2 colors into this, and I want to make them run independently and turn on with the controller. I want to have green and blue, like I said. So I'm thinking blue will probably be the standalone color, the color that turns on with the controller, and then I'll have the other color alternate like with the functionality of like maybe a rumble motor or something. Now how that's going to work is kind of cool and kind of tricky. I have to figure it all out. But the blue LEDs are going to turn on with the controller. The way I'm going to do that is I'm probably going to tap into the LED on the Xbox One controller if it's controlled by the positive lead and not ground, which I'm hoping it's controlled by positive. But if not, I'll tap into somewhere. Because the way this is going to work is I'm using NPN transistors to turn on the LEDs. And an NPN requires a positive current at its base to activate or turn on the transistor rather. So I have to find a 5 volt or 3 volt signal that only outputs when the controller is turned on. Now that should be kind of easy. I'm almost positive I can find something, especially with all these pinouts right here, which is really cool. So I'm sure I'll find something. And the other color I want to, fade on and off or turn on and off with the rumble motor. Now that will be easy as well, considering the rumble motors probably use transistors or FETs themselves to turn on. So all I have to do is tap my base of my NPN transistor into the base or gate of the transistor or MOSFET that controls the rumble motor. And that way those LEDs will turn on when the rumble motor vibrates, which is a really cool functionality. And yeah, I just think it would be really cool to do that because this controller is just begging for it. Now, I took it apart already, and it was kind of a pain in the ass because it's just weirdly constructed. The one thing that I did not know was this micro USB port is very, very fragile. And I pushed in the circuit board too hard and I actually bent the housing to the micro USB port, so I had to straighten it out and all that. It was not fun. So I'm definitely not doing that again. Also, don't do it if you I highly recommend taking your time with getting this back into place because it will bend and you'll be probably pulling your hair out like I was. It was not fun. But anyways, I noticed something cool about this controller before I get on the schematics or anything. I noticed something really cool. Now, my LEDs, these ones are going to run at 5 volts. 5 volts with a 100 ohm resistor. Instead with the positive or negative. Probably the positive. And how they work, how I'm going to tie this into the controller is actually really cool. Now, with a lot of mods, you have to find your own 5 volt signal and solder to it and all that. Like with my Xbox One Rapid Fire mod, I had to find a ceramic capacitor that was tied into the 5 volt rail and solder to that. And that was kind of a pain in the ass. But what Rock Candy has done is they almost predicted people to be modding their controller. And it's really cool. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Okay, so I'm zoomed in quite a bit, and this is exactly what I wanted you guys to see. Unfortunately, I'm recording with my cell phone right now because I cannot figure out the focus on my camera for the life of me. I don't know where the manual went. I'm like every guy, I don't think we need manuals, so I have to figure out the focus on that when zooming in. But this is exactly what I wanted you guys to see. It's almost as if Rock Candy is expecting us to mod their stuff because it's so cool. This is the 5 volt micro USB input right here. Sorry about that. Right here's the micro USB input, and these 4 copper circles are actually the pinouts of the micro USB. So we have, let me see if I can see this real fast. So we have a ground right here. Focus real fast. My cell phone can focus upon touch. It's actually really cool. So we have a ground right here, data positive right here, data negative right here, and 5 volts USB right there. It's all labeled too, so it's really, really helpful. Then of course we have the voltage regulation circuits all throughout here, which I'm almost positive all that is. We got surface mount capacitors, resistors, a few either transistors or MOSFETs. I'm not entirely sure. The packages are always weird. But yeah, it's actually really cool. So I'm going to tap into this circle right here for my 5 volts positive, and then possibly right here for my grounding of the LEDs. Okay, so good news. I was actually able to find my other surface mount LEDs. This is a picture right here. It's just an enlarged pinout for my use so I can see where I'm soldering later. These right here, they're a little bit bigger than the ones I wanted to use originally. Here's the ones I wanted to use originally. Just soldered to some hookup wire. I did that so I can test the resistance needed. So they're a little bit bigger, but the benefit of this is I have all 3 colors within one package. I'm only using 2 still, but I have all 3 colors right there, so I don't have to solder a bunch of wires to connect ground and all that. It's just all right there, so it's really easy. Here's the circuit right on this piece of paper. Fairly straightforward. We have blue and green. Blue is going to stay on all the time when the controller turns on, and green's going to just, flash or fade when the rumble motors are activated. So here's how it's going to work. Here's a 2N3904 transistor. I have 2 of them. For the ones that stay on, I have to find a positive signal that only outputs a positive signal when the controller turns on. That means I don't want to tap into the 5 volts directly, so I have to find something that outputs 5 volts or 3 volts after the controller is turned on, so that way the LEDs aren't constantly on. And over here, we just have to tap into the rumble motor. My guess is we have to find the gate of the transistor or base of the transistor or MOSFET and tap into that as well. Because if I just hook this up to the 3 volts positive, it's probably just going to run. I'm guessing they're using the ground to control it. So yeah, that's to come. I have the rock candy taken apart right now. So I have to do some probing around a bit. This is the ARM processor. It's really cool they're using an ARM. I didn't think they would be, but really neat. Here's all the pins or solder joints that connect to some pins or connectors that allow for detachment of the top board right here. Here is the D-pad. So I might be able to tap into some signals right here for the positive voltage to activate the blue. My guess is, since we can see it, it's actually really neat that they have it all labeled. You can't really see it, but on the rock candy itself, it says LED positive and LED negative. If the LED positive comes on only when the controller is turned on, I'm going to be tapping into that to control this transistor right here, which will be real easy. And right here is my 5 volt tap in for the LED power and the ground for the LED power. So now I'm going to figure out where to place these guys exactly on the controller. What I want to do is probably place one here, somewhere behind here, and then over here. So that way I kind of get, that's why I kind of get like a nice even light distribution. And these ones are still really bright, especially at 5 volts. So it's going to work quite well. So I'm going to put one here, here, and here, and I'm going to have 2 colors. I haven't tested the red on this yet, but I'm almost positive the red's going to draw too much current and take away from the green and blue. So I'm not going to worry about red still. Plus, I don't think red would look well inside this case. It'd be too kind of Christmassy. So I'm not going to worry about that. Now, before I solder these surface mount LEDs, I'm just going to tack them down with some Loctite. Okay, so I got all the soldering done except for tapping into signals. I got the SMD LEDs soldered up and some wiring I have to tack down. Before I finish, I'm going to do a quick test and just poke the base of the transistors with a alligator clip going right here. This is the 5 volts positive. This is the 100 ohm resistor going to the LEDs positive. But I'm taking an alligator clip and poking it with a 10K ohm resistor in series with it to the base of the transistors so I can see if my wiring is good. Now you might be asking, where are the transistors? Well, I had to get a little creative here. There wasn't a lot of space to put transistors in here, but I did figure out a cool spot that worked to my benefit really well. Let's turn it over. Right there. There's 1, 213,904, and then there's another. What I mean by working to my benefit is that there's actually a copper pad on the controller that goes straight to ground, and I was able to solder my the emitter of the transistors right to that instead of jumping that to ground, which turned out really well, and it's actually on both sides, which is really cool. I got really lucky there. I mean, there's these copper holes or copper pads everywhere, so they might all be ground. Maybe not the square one, but a majority of them are. So now I'm going to just take a 10K resistor and poke at it and see if they work. Here's the 100 ohm resistor, like I was saying. I got it folded over, just touching the 5 volts input on the controller and going there, and I have that red wire jumping all the LEDs to that, and then blue goes to blue, which is the transistor over here, and brown goes to green, which is the transistor over here. One thing I noticed is this is the B button for the controller, which is really weird. They have all the other buttons on that second circuit board except for the B one. I noticed that when I was taking it apart. It's very odd. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and poke around and see if they're working. Make sure my soldering is all good. Okay, so I got the little micro USB plugged in right here. The reason why those just lit is because my finger actually made contact with the base of the transistor, so that's why they just lit up green. I did that a few times, but yeah, there it is again. It's kind of weird, because sometimes it only does those two, but I'm going to stop doing that in case I damage it. So right now, I'm going to grab a gator clip and a 10K resistor and poke around. Make sure my wiring is working. Now I have to flip it over to see if I'm poking the right things. I want to poke the base of the transistor. So we're going to be looking for a green light being emitted off the back wall there. So that's what we're looking for. Or even, I'll do you one better. We'll go right like this. And there's the green light. All three are working because I see three different light paths. You can tell by the way it's in the paper. So that's cool. All three are working. Now we're going to go over to this transistor and do the same. And we should be getting a blue light hitting the paper, which is right there. So that is working too. And as you can see, they are very bright for being just, three SMD lights. I actually got these from RGB LED strip that requires 12 volts. I just took them off with my hot air gun, and it's actually serving quite a good purpose right now. So I think 10K is enough. So now all I have to do is just find out where I'm going to tap into for the signals to actually activate this. So I have to figure out a positive signal that's coming out only when the controller is on, and then I have to figure out the input or the gate of these FETs right here. They are FETs, I found that out, and I can tap into that for the motor ones. So I'm going to do that real fast, and hopefully it's not too hard. I'm just going to go plug it in to my Xbox, turn it on, and see if I can find something of useful, which I think I should. See my fingers activating it. Okay, so I got all my tap-ins figured out. For the green flash, I tapped into the motor assembly right over here. There's a resistor, surface mount resistor, right there, right above my finger. That goes to the gate of the MOSFET, or the base of the transistor. I think it's a MOSFET. I looked up online, and based on the numbers, it looks like a MOSFET. That goes right to it before the current is limited, of course. So I get about 1.5 volts when the triggers are pressed or when the motors are activated. So that means I can use that to turn on and off the green. Over here is where I tapped into for the constant blue. Now, I couldn't really find any different voltages when it's triggered or when the Xbox One is on. I could find one, but it's on a surface mount component that I don't feel like tapping into, so I decided to solder it right to this wiper right here on this potentiometer on the analog stick. Now what that does is it's 1.5 volts only when the Xbox is on. And if you're familiar with analog sticks or potentiometers, the wiper pin moves along a path of resistance, and this actually goes closer to ground. So whenever the analog stick is moved up or down, more likely down, the voltage will go lower to ground as well, meaning that I'll get a nice dimming effect for the blue LED that's constantly on. So that's kind of a cool effect too. So now I got a dimming effect for the blue whenever you move the analog stick up or down. And I got a really nice flash for this one. Now it would be kind of cool to kind of like maybe jumper this to right here, only if it shares the same voltage, which it might. That way I can get a y-axis and an x-axis fade, which would be kind of cool, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I might test it for continuity to see if I can. I might actually do that. Can't really tell though. Looks like those capacitors go right there, so they might actually touch right on the other side of the board. I'll figure that out, and if it does, I'm just going to jumper it and give like a really cool y-axis and x-axis fade, but if not, it's fine. So we're actually going to close this thing back up. I have to solder the motors back in, and we're going to close it up, and we're going to go give it a test and see how well it works. But up front, you can't really even tell anything happened to it. You can't really see any modifications all that well. I mean, we got the SMD LED right there, one hiding right there, you can still see it though, and one right there. The MOSFETs are or the transistors rather, are on the other side. You can see those if you looked at it. But like, if you weren't to know what you were looking for, you probably wouldn't even expect this or expect it to be modded. You just think it's normal. I'm actually going to touch up the wires too, make sure they get tucked away nice. And yeah, almost done. Really fun mod. Alright, so I got my Xbox One controller plugged in, hooked up to my TV. I'm running Black Ops 3 right now, not too fond of the game itself, but this is just for demonstrating. Like I said before, I tapped into the wiper pin of the right analog stick's vertical axis, so that means like when the wiper goes closer to ground, the voltage will drop, and I'll actually be able to change the brightness of the LEDs based on that. So it's like kind of like a dimmer switch, or just a very simple potentiometer and a LED in series, but it's really not. It's dependent on a current going to the base of the transistor. Like I said, that alone makes the LEDs turn on and off with the Xbox, which is really cool. Right now, my Xbox is on, so the LEDs are on, but when I turn off my Xbox, the LEDs will go off, which is a nice feature. I love that. I don't like having LEDs on constantly. But right now, we're playing Call of Duty, and I'm going to show you the rumble motors triggering the green LEDs. And it is going to be kind of hard to see, just because of the green case and the blue LEDs. But the nice thing is I can just turn those off by holding down the analog, and you'll see them just fine. But let's just take a second to appreciate how amazing that looks. I mean, that just looks really cool. I love it. And it just goes throughout the entire case. It's really nice. I love it. Love the outcome. Let's unmute Call of Duty. Get this horrible audio in our ears. Turn it down a bit, actually. It's on 40. And let's see if we can see them flashing right now. So a little bit. I don't know if the camera can catch that all too well. But the green is flashing, so let's turn down these LEDs by dimming. And then there's the green. And then the green and blue. Now, the camera's not picking up the difference of the color, but in person, you can definitely tell. Like, it looks more green right there, but with the blue, it kind of looks like an intense white. But, in person, you can definitely tell the difference. Just not based on my camera. But that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. I also want to thank a lot of you guys for subscribing recently. I've been noticing a hike in numbers, which is really cool. I'm getting closer to 400 every day, and that is amazing. Once I hit 400, I definitely will want to do a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. Maybe a Rock Candy Xbox One mod. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe, and hope you enjoyed this video, this fun little project with the very simple SMD LEDs. Okay, we're actually not done here. I forgot I wanted to show you guys the controller LEDs turning off with the console. So here we're gonna turn off the Xbox right now. I think I did it. And the controller should turn off. I don't know if I hit the button. Oh yeah, I did. Didn't really hear the capacitive button thing. But now the controller should shut off once the Xbox is finally asleep. And there we go. That is the end of the video. Thank you for watching again. Thank you for all the subscriptions. Really enjoying it and hoping to get more videos out soon. I am working on another handheld NES video, and it's aesthetically pleasing and ergonomic, a lot more so than the last one. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, stay tuned. Subscribe if you'd like, and thanks for watching.